Welcome to Pastoring on Purpose, the official podcast of the Center for Ministerial Care. Join us for this meaningful conversation led by Dr. Tim Maness and the Ministerial Care team about intentionally navigating the challenges, burdens, and opportunities facing church leaders and their families. We exist because healthy churches depend on healthy ministers. The Center for Ministerial Care. For ministers, for families, for you.
Welcome to another episode of Pastoring on Purpose. Dr. Tim Maness here in our studios in Cleveland, Tennessee. And today we're going to have an office episode. We like to do this once in a while just to hear from the staff. For one, it's hard to get a guest every time. People are busy. Two, we're busy. We have a very busy schedule. And quite frankly, I like to hear from our people here that works here at Ministerial Care day in and day out, sees what we do, sees what we go through and that kind of thing. And we kind of know each other pretty well at this point. We're kind of a family. And so welcome into this episode. We're going to be talking about change. Before we get into that, on our, I don't want to call it panel, but our people that we have on today, I suppose. To my right is Melinda.
Hello.
Very nice, short and sweet. Donna.
Hi.
Hi. So you should recognize her voice by this time. But Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. So we're going to take a quick break. You're not going to miss this episode because we're going to talk about change. We're going to talk about why change is so hard. Why is it so difficult? And then why do we have such an emotional reaction to change? Some people just get anxiety at the mention of change. And let's be honest, if we're being honest, all of us probably have some level of anxiety when we're dealing with some form of change. Well, why is that? And how do we have mental strategies and emotional strategies to navigate change in a healthy, productive way, right? You're not going to want to miss this episode. We'll be right back right after this.
The Center for Ministerial Care provides professional counseling services for Church of God ministers and their families free of charge. We're here to help with marital or financial stress, burnout, depression, loneliness, grief, or any challenge that you might be facing. If you're a pastor in the Church of God who could benefit from professional, confidential counseling with a Pentecostal perspective, we want to help. Visit ministerialcare.com for more information.
Welcome back to this episode, and let's just begin talking about why is change so hard? You hear people say one of the constant things in life is change. We have to learn how to deal with it. But the reality of it is, just from what I see in counseling, we don't deal with change very well. Lisa, in your opinion, why do you feel like it's a difficult thing to deal with change?
I think there's probably several reasons. One, I think we become creatures of habit, and we have our routines for the most part, and anything that changes up our routine kind of gets us out of the groove, and, we sort of have to start over and rethink ththings and do it differently. And sometimes I think change can be hurtful if it's not something you want in your life. So I think there's a lot of reasons, but for me personally, I think getting out of my routine and probably things that could be hurtful or cause anxiety.
Yeah.
We get used to things and we get to where we like it. Whether we like it that way or not, we like it because it's the same. And so when it becomes different, the more different it is, the harder we take it because it means we have to do something different. Now, some people like different. Some people would rather not have different.
That's true. Melinda, I know that you've had a lot of change throughout your life, PK, those kind of things, as well as just being in ministry in general. Why do you think it's so difficult, and why do you think it just feels so hard?
For me, I feel like the hardest thing is the fear of the unknown. If you know a change is coming, it can cause, a lot of anxieties because you don't know what that's going to look like.
That's a good point. I think, too, if I can say this, when someone implements change, we kind of lose a sense of control, especially when it wasn't us doing the changing. And so that can be threatening. Let's be honest. It's like, I don't have control over this. And we know that this is God's ministry. It's not our ministry, but, people pour a lot into their ministry. And let's be honest, a lot of our identity is formed from what we do as a living. And so I think part of it can be a control issue. What do y'all think?
I agree.
Yes.
And so, and even positive changes, new church, a bigger role, new ministry opportunities, even that's kind of scary because like what you said, Melinda, just the unknown. What's that going to look like? You know, how am I going to deal with that? And
What are those people going to be like? Are
Yeah.
they going to like me?
will they like me?
Am I
right?
going to fit
Will they
in?
understand me?
Right. Are they going to be used to my style of preaching or leadership or whatever? And not, you know, it's interesting. It sounds so elementary, but none of us want to be rejected.
Right.
Right.
True.
You know, I don't like being rejected. But there's that kind of fear that we have oftentimes as well when it comes to change. Ministers and their families, change can be amplified because it often means shifting school, home, right? Friendships, routines, when moving. What do you find, and it's been a while since, you know, we moved, but what do you find it difficult the most in that process of change?
For me, it was always more of a social thing. Who am I going to be friends with? Who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to get my hair done?
Yes.
It's important.
You know, even the simplest thing, even the simplest changes can be hard. But yeah, for me, it was more social.
And medical doctor for our kids, pediatrician.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's, you know, you get used to and you have faith and trust in people who take care of your children. That can be threatening.
Well, for me, it's just hard to approach people or whatever. So it's more of a like anxiety of, okay, I've got to make an effort to meet people.
Gotcha.
To put myself out there.
Yeah.
It becomes
Yeah.
a dread. Like you're hesitant in contacting
Yes,
people. You
hesitancy for
dread
sure.
the newity of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she made me think when we were in state work, there would be times when I would feel more outgoing than others, like at camp meeting or something. And it's easier when you go to church that night if you're in that mode to go around, especially when it's your first event in a state, to go around and shake hands with people and introduce yourself. What's really bad is when you're having a day when you really just want to not be noticed and you still have to go around and shake hands with people and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just, it does make you kind of be hesitant, but usually people are receptive. You know, you have to remember God did not create you to be the person who was there before you.
Right.
He created you to be you. And if he is ordering your steps and you are where you are because you feel he directed you there, then he needs you there with your gifts and abilities and personality.
Absolutely. And I think that's a key point there is be who you're called to be. Don't try to be someone that you're not.
Exactly.
It's one thing to want people to accept you. It's really difficult for people to do that when you don't accept yourself. And God does not make mistakes. There's a reason you're called. Trust your calling. Trust your training. Trust your experience. Trust God.
Yes.
And I think, you know, as you kind of look at this, it's really important to know who we are. Even in change, you know, even though we're going through change, at the core, it doesn't change who you are, right?
Right.
And so I think it's important to be mindful of that. What about you, Lisa? I know it's probably been a long time since. When's the last time you moved? Have you?
Well, I've never moved away from basically really my home.
Wow.
I mean, I've always had my home there, whether it be with my parents when, you know, before or like when my house was built right there. So I've never been away from what I consider my home.
Yeah.
So I can't really chime in on that. But now I have changed churches several times throughout my life. And that is, I know it's probably right up there with a child having to change schools. I know how hard it is for kids when they have to go to a different school or a new school, or they step up and it's time to move on to the next level of education or whatever. But I've always had that anxiety going into new churches because it, like Melinda said, it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest anxieties I recall having as far as change.
Yeah.
A
It's
lot of
difficult.
anxiety.
And that, you know, not every church is for everybody. That's why we have different churches. I'll be honest with you, for me, it's the restaurant. You know, I need to make sure that I have my steakhouse, and you know, it's all about the restaurants. And so my biggest fear is, what if they don't have what I like? I mean, that's a big crisis.
Yes, and
What am I going to eat?
when you go to the same restaurant, you already know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You go someplace different, and then you have to I've got to hurry. I've got to figure out what I want to get before they get here. Yeah,
The waiter already knows what I want. I get this,
Exactly.
it's just, so that's kind of the, why change is so hard. What's some of the emotional reaction that we have to change? When you hear the word change, what kind of emotions does it really elicit to you? And everybody's different, but we all have some form of emotional reaction to it.
I can think of so many different times that change caused me emotions. Like, for instance, changing jobs. There's been a few times where I've changed jobs, and I would be very emotional about maybe leaving where I was and going where I was going. And I recall one situation where I really, really loved my job, but it just wasn't good for my kids when they were small. So I had to leave and go to something different. And it was very emotional. I didn't want to leave the people that I was used to. I didn't want to leave the tasks that I was used to doing. But yet I had to do what I had to do at the time, as your children get older and stuff, and their needs changed. So it's very sad. You feel sad, and then you feel scared about the new place. So I've had that. And then there have been a lot of changes in my life that have had to do with divorce. And at that point, it's really hard because even that played into my church life.
Sure.
So you're not only going maybe to a different church because of that, but you're going alone.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of things that are different. You just face a lot of emotions because you're thinking, this is a new place. I'm alone. They're going to wonder why, maybe, or I don't know. There's
Are they
just
going
a
to judge
lot.
me?
Exactly.
Are they going to have
Who am I going to sit with?
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, and it's a tough time. It's a very
Yes.
difficult time in your life and anyone's life going through that.
Right.
And sometimes it's difficult, to get, to have the church right there before you in those kind of moments, right? So Melinda, for you, when you think about change, what kind of emotions does it elicit for you?
I mean, really all of them, and like one leads into another. You can be excited, and while thinking about something you're excited about, it reminds you of something you're leaving or going to be missing. So then that causes sadness and then bring on the anxiety. So I feel like they're just all, when involving change, just kind of balled together.
Which can be confusing because you're going from one really powerful emotion to another, right? And so that's a great point because, we can be excited about looking forward to what God has for us and like this great opportunity, but then, oh man, I'm going to miss this. Or what about the kids? Or how are the kids, And so it's anxiety, it's sadness, it's anger, frustration, you name it. What about you, Donna? What kind of emotions?
Apprehension,
Apprehension, okay. Yeah.
just because of the unknown. But then anytime we've had like a move, you're apprehensive. You hate leaving where you are because you've gotten accustomed to it. You love the people. Moving to the next place, but I usually have always tried to think about the positives. Being somewhere new, getting to see new things, getting to experience a new culture, because let's face it, every state has its own culture and some states have more than one.
That's true.
And so you just get to experience new things and try to make it a positive. But apprehension, I think, is probably the
It's a good word.
biggest one.
That's a good word. Anxiety oftentimes we have because of the fear of the unknown. Sadness, the fearing of leaving something behind. That's like a grieving process almost. Dealing with that kind of, you have excitement, anger, and frustration because a lot of times change is not in our control.
Right.
Right? And we don't have any choice. It is what it is, and we have to deal with it. And that can really cause a lot of frustration, feelings of powerlessness in the transition, feeling like you don't have a choice. And then you kind of think, well, what did I do wrong? Right? You kind of personalize it. Right? That brings a whole nother level of emotions, quite frankly. I will say this for those of you listening, none of these emotions are bad or negative. Okay? Doesn't mean you don't have faith. Doesn't mean you don't have trust in God. It does mean you're a human being.
Right.
There's a reason why we have a Savior and we're not Him. We rely upon Him. We need Him to help us in these moments, and we can't do it on our own. So when you have anxiety, sadness, excitement, fear, anger,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with anger. Anger is actually a healthy emotion if we handle it in a healthy way. it's important for us to recognize these emotions and not be threatened by them or question our calling or feel like we're not spiritual enough, because that could be further from the truth. And so, just kind of, allow yourself to process this. Take time, with yourself as an individual, but take time with your family. And I would say, too, for young families that are dealing with change and transition, talk to each other. Allow your kids to kind of be open and share their emotions. I think that's important. Don't you, Melinda?
I do, yeah.
What are some benefits does it have to allow our kids to kind of be a part of that process? I know we try to protect them. Ultimately, they're not the ones making the decision, right? But recognizing how big of an impact this is going to have in their lives, what kind of benefits do you see as a parent allowing them to be open and sharing how they're feeling about the process?
I may see things differently, but I've never really subscribed to the whole, you have to deal with it because that's what I said, parenting method.
Yeah.
So involving them, it just gives them space to find a way to be okay. It gives them space to also know it's okay that I'm not completely stoked about the situation or, whatever, which helps them grow up in a better mindset, I feel like.
Because they don't have a choice.
Right.
I mean, and even when you're an adult, you don't have a choice all the time. So it's, they could learn that, but they can also learn how to manage it at a younger age than most, probably.
I love what you said there, alluding to it, because it's allowing them to have space to open up to you. But it's also an opportunity for you to be open up to them. I think I said that right. Did I say that? My English may be wrong on that. I hope not. But it allows you to be honest with them. And if they're feeling scared or anxious or fearful, these are some emotions that you as a parent might be having as well. And it's really a good opportunity, a moment for you guys to help each other get through that together. The family system is the natural, if you will, support system God has given to us. And so I see great benefit in that. And I love the fact that, you don't ascribe to, do what I say. I don't know where that works, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, everyone wants to be heard.
They do.
And even a child, it gives them confidence. I feel in growing up into an adult, it gives them confidence to know that it's okay for them to say what they're feeling and give you their opinion on something. They shouldn't be just bottled up. It might not be that you can change it, but like Melinda said, at least it gives them a minute to process it and find out why we can't change it. We have to do this.
Absolutely.
But at least they're heard.
Yes.
My parents are gone, so I can say this without fear of them hearing it. But one of the things I always hated growing up was not being able to explain myself and having to do it because they said so. And so when I had my child, I probably went overboard explaining a lot of times because, and letting her explain. Did she always explain with the right tone of voice or attitude? Probably not, but I understood where she was coming from.
Yeah.
And so I would let her say what she needed to say. But you need to be heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. And you make this decision, it affects everybody.
Right.
And so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some strategies to how we can navigate change, hopefully in a healthy way, because let's face it, all of us have dealt with it. We're going to be dealing with it. It's part of life. And then, of course, we're going to talk about, real quickly before we finish up, spiritual and family practices that I think might be beneficial for you as well. So we'll be right back right after this.
If you would like to help support the Center for Ministerial Care continue its mission of serving those who so faithfully serve all of us, we encourage you to like us on Facebook, subscribe to this podcast, and share it with others. You can also visit our website at ministerialcare.com and click the donate button to make a contribution that directly benefits our services.
Welcome back to Pastoring on Purpose, and let's just for just a moment talk about some strategies that we can have to navigate through change. And as healthy as possible. Because let's be honest, and I've seen this in counseling, I'm going to be quite honest with you about this. I've seen people and I've seen ministers, I've seen families go through change, not handle it well, and it affect them in their new position or new place. It can create a sense of bitterness. It can create a sense of loss of identity. It can create a lot of issues if we don't handle it. Anger. If we don't handle that anger in a healthy way and we bottle it up, that's going to come out as misplaced anger upon the kids, upon the spouse, you name it. So learning how to handle these emotions in a healthy way, I cannot express this enough, is vitally important because I see it all the time in counseling. Melinda, what are some things that you've done as far as yourself to help you be able to navigate change in a healthy way?
Keyword for me was always distraction.
Okay.
Find a book, pack a box, go something, just something so I don't like wallow in the hard emotions of it. If I can distract myself with something,
Yeah.
it's easier for me to get through.
And you like to read anyways. And so you're connecting with something that you enjoy. And that's something that you're going to do in the new place anyways. Yes. Right? So it's not all is lost. I like that.
That is a little bit hard because I was sitting here thinking about that when you asked the question, and I thought, I'm not really sure how I cope with it other than just talking to the ones that I'm close to about it for comfort. I mean, you can do something for a little while and distract yourself, and that is great. If you have a hobby or something. I don't really have a lot of hobbies, but I do like crafting. So sometimes I'll just get somewhere quiet by myself and do that, and I'll kind of think about things. But I don't know. And I guess one thing too that I have found is that it's typically never as bad as I think it's going to be, whatever this change is or whatever this new thing is. So I do try to focus on that and just tell myself, now, the last time it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It brings me, I guess, a little bit of comfort. And plus, it's going to happen anyway, no matter.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. Right. It's going to happen. So just, I don't know. I guess I don't really have a good answer for that.
No, that is a good answer. When you talk about community, you talk about family, talking to others, that's support. And that's saying I need my people, if you will, or people around me to kind of help me navigate through this together. So that's really important. That's not nothing. And I will say this, because I mentioned, you don't have a choice. There's a lot of leaders listening, okay? A lot of pastors. And with change, they do have a choice.
Right.
And sometimes you do need to make changes. Obviously, it's important. However, I think there's also a flip side of this, and I don't want to stay on this too long. Sometimes there are changes that are made that do not need to be made. Things are working as is. Right. Things are going well. And so while change is important, okay, don't change just for the sake of change.
Right.
Have a reason, right? Have a purpose, and make sure God is calling you to do that. And we're doing it for the right reasons. And so, that's all I'll say. Not to say that ego ever gets involved in that, but sometimes it does. Let's be honest. We're all human, and so just make sure you're doing that for the right purpose. Donna, what about you? How do you handle change yourself?
Try to look at like I said earlier, the new place, what you can do there, or what you can take advantage of when you're there. What places can you go see or that are unique to there? Just trying to find the positives about where you're going instead of dwelling on the negatives of it.
So instead of looking at the things that you're going to be missing, you're looking at the things that you're going to be gaining. I like that. It's a different perspective, right? I've heard reframing, instead of saying like, everything's falling apart. Oh no, what am I going to do? We are entering into a new season of growth and a newness, and no matter where we go, God is going to be there with us. Well, Linda, reading a book, keeping a healthy routine, right? Just continue doing the things. You don't have to stop doing what you enjoy doing. And so I think that's important. Focus on what you can control. I think sometimes in change, we have a tendency to focus on things that we cannot control, and that's going to cause a lot of frustration because there's nothing we can do about it anyways, right? And so if we spend a lot of I call it mental energy, it's wasting energy on things we can do nothing about. So things that we do have control over, we're too tired to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It is, yes.
And so focus on what you can change and what you can do. When you feel like everything's out of control, it's important to focus on what you can control, and then seek support. I think that's really, really important. So all of you have talked about this. And then finally, I do think can we get to a spiritual and family practice to change, if you will? Not every change affects the whole family. Let's be honest. Sometimes there's change within the church itself that may not have a whole, but if you're moving, obviously that affects the whole family. And even sometimes a change in the church, because, unlike my dad, who was a coal miner, I didn't know what was going on at work. He clocked in, he clocked out. I didn't know his coworkers. It didn't affect me one bit. Being a PK is a little different, isn't it, Mel?
Oh, yes.
Right, Donna? You can attest to it. It's a lot different. And so what are some spiritual practices, and this is for anyone, that we can do to kind of help us navigate change in a healthy way?
I think one thing we can do is remember there is one thing that does not change, and that's God.
Sure.
He is never changing. He is always faithful, and he will complete what he has started in us. And we have to remember that doesn't mean we may always be in the same location, but there is a work in us that he's doing, and he will complete it. It doesn't matter what our geographics are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And he goes with us.
Yes.
I think also it's normal to want to just jump into the new work immediately, which is fine to a certain extent. But then we get in the habit of doing that, and then we keep adding to it, and we start getting used to going into fifth gear, and we don't know how to downshift to fourth, third, and second gear. Don't forget Sabbath.
Right.
Even when you're dealing with change, even when, as a matter of fact, when you're dealing with that kind of those kind of emotions, that's when Sabbath's probably the most important in a lot of ways. So give yourself time to be able to do that. Talked about this, but grieving together, we need to. Pray as a family.
Definitely.
Name what you're sad about leaving behind. It's okay to have emotions, and think of those blessings and thank God for what God has done in that period in your life. And Donna, you alluded to this, but keep your faith focus. As ministers, we talk about it all the time. Have faith and trust in God.
Yes.
Right? You hear that preached a lot. That's not as easy as we make it sound.
No.
I mean, honestly, when we're faced with difficulties and things, it's okay. People can say, well, have faith in God, believe in God. Okay, that's great, but that's not as simple as we make it sound. Right. That can be very difficult, but it is really important to be able to do that. So thank you so much for this topic. I'm very thankful for all of you, quite frankly. We cannot do what we do without all three of you, and we are very much a team, and I can't thank you enough for everything and having to put up with me.
We appreciate you too, Tim.
It's a lot. I'm a lot. I know. Melinda can attest to it. I'm a lot.
He's a lot.
You see? I am
But
difficult.
the three of us can handle you.
I hope. I hope so. So as we close, as you're listening, take a deep breath right now. Ask yourself, what's one thing I'm facing today? What's one emotion that I haven't given myself permission to feel about? Now, bring that feeling before God. Think about it. Not to fix it immediately, but simply to acknowledge it in His presence. We want to go into fix-it mode immediately. Don't want you to try to fix it. I just want you to acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling and let God help you with that emotion that you're going through. So, change is always going to come, right? We're going to be dealing with it. It doesn't have to break us. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Right? Isn't that a song?
That's a song. Yes.
Is it Carrie Clarkson?
Kelly.
Kelly Clarkson. Oh my goodness. and if you're listening, please share this podcast with others. Feel free to let other people know that this is available for them. We do this for you, for our ministers. The work that we do here, I feel, is very taxing in a lot of ways. It's very cumbersome in some ways, very emotional, but at the same time, it's very joyful, because we get to help ministers and their families at sometimes their most difficult points in their lives. And we see God do remarkable work. And so if you're out there and you are having you're struggling right now and you're having a hard time dealing with life as it is, and you're a minister, or you're a spouse of a minister, or a PK for that matter, we're here for you. So don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call. No one's going to know except you, God, and us. And we're very confidential, and we want you to feel safe, that you can trust us. For Melinda, for myself, for Donna, for Lisa, as well as for our producer, Ryan, we will see you next time on Pastoring on Purpose. And until then, God bless.
You've been listening to Pastoring on Purpose, the official podcast of the Center for Ministerial Care. Join us next time as we continue our purposeful progress to becoming better pastors and better people.